Are you looking for inspiration on a daily basis? Well, check out Deal to Heal Tees. With our inspirational tees, you're sure to find something that will inspire you. Just go to dealtohealtees.myshopify.com. That's Deal to Heal Tees. Put some inspiration in your situation. Wear inspirational tee and be inspired all day. That's Deal to Heal Tees at dealtohealtees.myshopify.com. Hi guys, if you're enjoying this podcast, then I know you'll enjoy the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast. I'm your host, Earnest James. And on my podcast, my guests and I discuss topics and ways to help us to heal in every area of our lives. I believe that everyone can and should live a life that is whole, healed, and healthy. And therefore, I'm on a mission to help people to deal, heal, and fulfill, to deal with their problems, heal from the pain, and to fulfill their purpose. So check out our podcast. We're on Google Podcasts, Spotify, or even on Audible. And if you want to watch the podcast, check us out on our YouTube channel at Deal to Heal with E. James Podcast. Until then, see you soon. Welcome to the Girl Dad Discussions podcast with E. James. We believe that the relationship between a dad and daughter is one of the most important relationships in a woman's life. Our mission is to promote the daddy-daughter relationship by spreading the voices of girl dads to the world and give love and support to all of our dads and their daughters. Let's get to it. Let's tune in. Hey, welcome to the Girl Dad Discussions podcast. I'm your host, Earnest James, and I believe that the relationship between a father and daughter is one of the most important relationships in a young lady's life. And therefore, our mission is to promote the voices of girl dads to the world and talk about the relationships of the girl dad and daughter relationship. Also, to combat the narrative of the fatherless daughter and the absent father. Thank you guys once again for tuning in to the podcast. If you haven't already, make sure that you listen, like, subscribe, and share our podcast on all of your social media pages and anywhere that you can see the Girl Dad Discussions podcast. Make sure you guys are also checking us out on our new YouTube channel, which is the Deal to Heal Podcasting Network. Formerly the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast only, but now we decided to bring you guys a plethora of podcasts. So we have the Deal to Heal Podcasting Network on YouTube, where you can go and find out multiple podcasts that we have on that channel, including the Girl Dad Discussions podcast that you're listening to right now, and the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast, which is on that podcast. My guest and I talk about topics and ways to help us to heal in every area of our lives. I talk about the things that I've been through: depression, divorce, suicidal ideations. And for the things that I haven't been through, I bring on other guests, authors, speakers, coaches, to talk about their experiences and leave my audience with some hard tips and ways for us to get through whatever that we're going through, right? So make sure you guys go check that out. Again, that's the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast on our new podcasting network on YouTube, which is the Deal to Heal with the Deal to Heal podcasting network. All right, so make sure you guys go and check that out. Also, our product of the week. As you guys know, we are a self-sustained podcast, and the way that we stay on the air is by bringing you amazing products for you to purchase so we can pay our bills. And so our product of the week is our purpose journal and our purpose planner, because we believe you should journal in order to remember where you've been and where you are, while at the same time planning for your future. You guys can get your copy on Amazon. The link is in the descriptions below of the podcast. So whether you're watching it or whether you're listening to it, go into the descriptions. You will see the link to get your copy of our Purpose Journal as well as our Purpose Planner. So make sure you guys go and check that out. But today, just like any other day, we are blessed with the guest, Mr. Martin. How you doing?
What's up, brother? How are you? Thank
I
you for
am
having
good.
me on
I'm good.
your YouTube channel and your podcast, brother.
No problem. No problem. First of all, let me say thank you for being here. Because you could have been doing anything else with anyone else, but you're here with us. We definitely appreciate it. So we're gonna jump right in. Do me a favor, introduce yourself to my audience and tell us who you are and a little bit about what you do.
Okay, my name is Efrem B. Martin, and I am a United States Marine Corps veteran. I am the father of 4 adult daughters, 36, 30, 26, and 24. They are all amazing women. They are incredible. And what I do, I'm a fitness and wellness trainer currently, and I worked in the criminal justice system for 20 years. I'm a former state of Colorado juvenile probation officer, and I've been a certified paralegal since 1980. And I also worked in K-12 education as a teacher, restorative justice coordinator, and dean of students. So I've got
All right.
I've got a real unique background.
Yeah, I see, and we're gonna touch on a couple of those things before we done today, right?
Yes,
But
sir.
I want to jump right in with your daughters because you have
Okay.
adult daughters, right? My
Yes.
daughter is a recent adult. She just turned 21 at the time
Right.
of this recording, so she's a recent
Okay.
a recent adult. But I want to go back. I want to go back a little bit. Let's go back to and you can expound on whether you want to expound on all four experiences of your daughters or just choose one in particular. But I want to go back to even finding out that you are going to be a father. What was that like? You know, the first time that you found out that okay, I'm gonna be a father, and then even after that, that oh man, it's gonna be a girl. So this is a whole nother a whole nother thing now. So how was that
Yeah.
experience?
So it's kind of crazy. I got out of the Marine Corps in 1988 and was overseas. So I was transitioning back to the States, and I didn't even know that I was going to have a daughter. I didn't find out my oldest daughter. So my oldest daughter, her mother and I were in the military together. She was in the Navy. I was in the Marine Corps, and I didn't find out about her until she was born in 1988. I actually didn't find out about her until 1994. So it was almost 6 years later. My other 3 daughters, their mother is Latina. I was married to her for almost 20 years. So my first daughter's mother, I was not married to, and I didn't find out about her until she was 6, and I actually didn't get her until she was 15. So it was that first experience was it was off, but my last 3 daughters, I was their birth to 18 years of age. So my oldest daughter, amazing woman. We have a great relationship. Like I said, I didn't get her until she was 15. And the last 26 years have been, or 20 years have been nothing but bliss. And 21 years, actually. She's an amazing woman. She currently lives in Texas. She is a nurse. She's working on her PhD in nursing. And she also is a college professor. And we speak 2 to 3 times a week. We're both Geminis. We speak for hours. So we have an amazing relationship. And my last 3 daughters, the 30-year-old, 26-year-old, and 24-year-old, they all live here in Colorado. And I've got 2 and I have 1 that travels. My youngest daughter travels back and forth between here and LA. She's into television and recordings and things of that nature. So my girls are doing amazing. I have great relationships with all of my daughters, and just very, very blessed.
Yeah. So let's go with your last 3 daughters with that experience of because you knew that they were coming, right?
Yes.
So how was that experience with finding out, even with them, like, hey, honey, we're, what I'm saying, like, we're here, you know what I
Right.
mean? How was that experience of finding out? And then when you found out, did you guys wait to find out the sex of the child, or you guys was like, hey, we want to know everything now?
No, we didn't know. We didn't know with any of the girls. And I'm gonna tell you what's crazy, brother. I wanted daughters.
Mm.
As crazy as that may sound, I wanted daughters because I knew when I graduated college in 1993, I got married that September. My ex-wife and I had been together for since 1989. So made it through college together, and then we got married in September. And then Jasmine came the following June. She's a Gemini as well. So Jasmine was born in June of 1994, and didn't find out. But having a baby girl just lit me up because I was so charged and so ready to take on this next journey in my life and just this next stage in my life. And then Zuri was born in October of 1997. And then Cheyenne was born in April of 2000. So all my girls are close, even their oldest sister. They're all very close girls. And just finding out that I was having a baby girl, I was excited. I was because I was 100% in. So being married and having children, I think, is the best way to do it. I know it doesn't always work out that way, but I think it's the best way to do it. So having my first baby girl, it just lit me up. I was ready.
All right, all right. So, excuse me. So now that you're a girl dad with four girls, I'm gonna ask you a couple question that I ask all my dads is, what does it
Sure.
mean for you personally to be a girl dad?
Personally, for me to be a girl dad is just being able to be available to my daughters. And I've learned a lot working with children and raising my daughters at the same time. My professional background working in the criminal justice system, I had to take a totally different path because I was working with children that were being messed over by the criminal justice system. And um, a lot of these kids, just their parents were jacked up, and the criminal justice system is not good for kids. So I had to take a totally different path. I had to look through a totally different lens because I was dealing with kids that were in the criminal justice system, whether they were placed on probation, placed outside the home in group homes, or foster care. So for me, the sense of urgency became greater with my very own daughters, and I had to look at it through a totally different lens.
Yeah. So even with that experience, coming into it from a different lens, I always say we're always teaching our daughters, something. But not only are we teaching them something, but they're also teaching us. So
Right.
with your daughters, what has been something that you could recollect as something that they've taught you, that has changed your life?
Well, what my daughters taught me in my life, all of my daughters, is how to become selfless. And I believe that when you're a girl dad, you have true masculinity because your force, your baby girls, you have a daughter. Your baby girls are they're going to force you to change as a man. I become a great human being, have daughters, because what your daughters are going to do, they are going to force you to look at the world totally different than what you would as a man, as a boy. So
Mhm.
I feel grateful and thankful for having my daughters because they've brought a sense of calmness and compassion and empathy into my life. And they force me to look at the world holistically different.
Yeah, yeah. So in my journey, one of the stories that I share was when my daughter was younger. She had a daddy daughter dance, right? And I
Okay.
had to work. I had to
Yes.
work And so I said, well, I'll miss this one, but I'll catch the next one.
Right.
And as I said, my daughter's 21 now. There never was the next one, and
Okay.
so that's one of the things that I regret. Um,
Okay.
that I didn't take that time to, be a part of that moment and have that moment. Um, in your experiences thus far, because I want this podcast to be, you know, informative also for the
Sure.
daddy and daughters that's listening. Is there something that, because I always say that's one of my regrets, right? That I didn't take out that
Right.
time. Is there something
Right.
that, an experience that maybe you share with your daughters that after the fact you kind of looked back on and like, I kind of regret doing that, or maybe I could have just handled that a different way, or something of the sort. Um, because I know we don't always get it right. You know what I'm
Oh,
saying?
absolutely not.
Sometimes we
Absolutely not.
we make some mistakes, and I
Right.
always say, I know there's a dad that's watching, and he's new on his
Sure.
journey. You know what I'm saying? And so I'm like, I want you to learn from my mistakes. So that's one regret that I have, that I didn't take
Sure.
out that time for that moment. So can you share
Okay.
a story that, some moment that maybe you share with one of your daughters that was like, yeah, I could have did that a little differently.
Oh, there's many.
Well, you got four
So
times than I do.
right. Right. I got four brothers. So there's I mean, how much time you got? So for me, it's not so much regret as I think as fathers, one of the things we have to learn to do is understand our time management, right?
Mhm.
Because time management is going to be the difference in our lives. Uh, because we can't beat ourselves up because we're not going to be able to make everything. I'll give you a situation. For instance, I had three of my daughters in a competitive chair at once, right? Very
Mhm.
expensive. So for whatever reason, I believe I was the dean of students at the time, and I was out of town, missed my flight, and I was supposed to be there for my baby girls. Well, I didn't make it, so their mother ended up having to take them. And I record everything, so it was recorded by their mother, and I explained to the girls, "Hey, girls, Daddy missed his flight. I apologize." And they were like, "That ain't no big deal. You make everything else." So
Mhm.
there's going to be, I don't necessarily call them regrets.
Mhm.
It's just a time management thing. A lot of times we're not going to be able to make everything. And I don't think that fathers, particularly of daughters, you can't put that pressure on yourselves. For instance, the daddy daughter dance, those
Mhm.
are important for a lot of our daughters. I never, my daughters, we never had a daddy daughter dance. I would have loved to been a participant, but I'm in Colorado, so they didn't have them here. So
Mhm.
you missing it, that's something as a father you may feel bad about, but you also got to look at the other side of that as well, is understanding that as men we can only do what we can do. We can't beat
Mhm.
ourselves up because we're not going to be able to make everything. That's just not possible.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's conversations that you need to have with your daughters, because if you're in your daughter's life, they're going to understand and they're going to appreciate the time that they have with you. It's more important than any of the material things we're ever going to give them. So I want to encourage fathers, do understand you're not going to be able to make everything. That's just how life works. Your consistency, though, is more important than making everything. I just believe that.
Yeah, yeah. And I do too, and that's why I kind of share that story for two reasons actually. One, to learn from my mistake, because
Sure.
the reason why I'd say that, because when I talk about that, I always come back and say, hey, take the moments that you get. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And definitely, like you said, my daughter's 21. We've done plenty of things over the years, and
Absolutely.
even now, that doesn't even bother her. Like, she could care less
No,
about it. You know what I'm
no.
saying? It just bothers
Yeah.
me
Yeah.
because it was a decision that I made for something that I wanted to do, because I always wanted to do the daddy daughter dance, and
Sure.
so that's
Sure.
why it was important to me more so than her. But
Sure.
even afterwards, like now, at this time, we're planning for next year, which is something I've been wanting to do. that we're going to start having an annual daddy-daughter dance for daddies and daughters of all ages, right? And so we're working
That's
on to
beautiful.
doing our first one next year,
That's
because I
beautiful.
wanted to have that experience. Then I want the experience for myself, but
Sure.
I also wanted to give the experience to dads who may not have had the experience for various reasons. Maybe they
Right.
weren't connecting at that time. Like you
Right.
said,
Right.
you
Right. Right.
didn't connect to your daughter to later. So maybe that time period, had gone by, but it's still a moment that we can create. And so that's why I wanted to redo that, to start doing that. And so we're working on it for next year being our first year that we actually do the daddy daughter dance, for dads and daughters of all ages, and I'm looking forward to that, and so yeah, so that was something that, like I said, one of the things that I, for lack of a better term, regret, from my own
Sure.
experience. But then on
Sure.
the other hand, there are things that we do that we look at it and we can smile as fathers and be like, yeah, I got that right. You know what I mean? And so, same question on that side of the sphere, what has been an experience that you share with your daughters, with something that you guys shared, and then when it was over, you're able to just give yourself a little pat, like, yeah, I did good on
Right.
that one. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Right. Oh, I got a lot of things right. Trust me. I so I introduced my daughters to everything, arts and crafts, sports, whatever their interests were, and I never pushed my daughters in either direction. I just believe that children are creative enough and they're going to make up their own minds what they're interested in, what they're not interested in. The one golden rule for my daughters they understood with me is whatever we start, we finish. We're not going to
Mm,
quit halfway through. We don't do that. So whatever we start, we finish. I don't care as long as it's not a protection and safety issue. You're going to finish it. I don't care how uncomfortable it is because that's what you picked to do. So
mhm,
the competitive cheer thing for me was good because all of my daughters, when my daughters were little, I had them all together, and wherever I rocked with them, they were always with me. I took them everywhere to the malls, wherever we were. I always had my daughters. So women always offered help because you're not used to seeing fathers with girls. You're just not. So I got these four daughters with me at once, and boom, here they come, right? And just for me, just being able, like in the primary grades, I remember just all the volunteer work I did as far as their field trips, all their parties. I never missed any of my daughter's parties, any of their field trips, K through 8. I was never missed any of their back to school nights. So for me, just being available to them during those times and building the relationship from within during those times, my daughters tell me today, they're like, I mean, they validate everything that I put in them, you know, and I don't have any, um, there's so many things that we've done. I mean, we've traveled extensively throughout the United States, everywhere, um, so many different states as a family. And just those times, next year, my oldest daughter, myself, and my other daughters, we're planning a trip out of the country. I travel pretty extensively.
mhm.
I spend a lot of time in South America. I'm fluent in Spanish, so I I travel quite a bit, and my daughters they travel quite a bit. So I just now that they're adult women, I just love rolling with them, and wherever I go, they're always invited, and we just hang out. And it's cool them being adult women because I get to just rock with them now and just enjoy all the fruits of my labor. But when they were little girls, that I enjoyed it better when they were little girls because when they're adult women, as you know, you got a 21-year-old, you got different worries then because they're no longer in the house. So you
Right.
can't provide that protection and safety like you used to, So I have different worries. I never turn
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, but when they were little girls, for me, it was easier when they were under 18.
Yeah. And that's what I tell dads, that ones that I have, one that have the younger daughters. I said, you think when you get to the, the young adults, or when they get 20, it's like that it's going to be all over. Like, all right, my job's done. I'm like, no. Then you got a whole
No.
nother set of, you got a whole
You got a whole, you got
problems
chapters.
that's coming.
Yeah, you got some chapters coming. You know what's crazy, brother Ernest? This is what's crazy to me. Through my YouTube channel and doing what I'm doing, working with fathers of daughters, I come across so many fatherless daughters, and they don't even fool with their parents for a lot of different reasons. And it's just it's kind of scary for me to think, what would I do not having a relationship with my baby girls? And as adults, how did it get to that point to where our baby girls decide, hey, I'm no longer fooling with my parents? And then we hear the stories of the childhood trauma of some of these children, these adult children. It's like, hey, now that I have a chance, I don't have to fool with them. I'm not going to fool with them. It's sad though.
Yeah, it is. I agree 100%. Because I've been on the other end to hear some of those stories, and it's like, man, really,
Right.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's sad. It's sad, and especially when, I think it's hard enough just to have a relationship, just raising children, period. As parents,
Right.
We have our, like I said, we don't always get it right.
Right.
But get it so wrong. You know what I mean?
Right.
To get it so
Right.
wrong that when they
Right.
have the option to choose, they'd rather
pull
choose
away.
to live without you. I just think
That's
like,
crazy.
I
Right.
I don't know. I just don't understand that one. I have
I
no
don't-
answer for that
don't
one.
get it. I don't get it, because I'm not the type of, my daughters will tell you, I'm going to do a live stream in 2025 with my daughters, because I got to get them all together. But I'm going to do I'm going to call it Black Girls, and we're just going to talk about their lives as when they were little girls. I'm going to open it up. I'm going to allow my audience to ask my daughters whatever they want to ask them, and just see how awesome these girls are, these women are, because my daughters will tell you the truth, and they're going to tell you I'm very laid back, and I'm not much gets to me, but I got the father thing right because I was consistent, and I just, like I said, I cannot imagine not having a relationship with my adult daughters. I just can't. We go to concerts, we go to comedy clubs together. I just, they're living their best lives. So I stay out of their lives. I'm just happy to see them. I mean, they know if they come to their father about some foolishness and nonsense, they know I'm going to handle it. So they know before they come to me, hey, handle it, because if I get involved, y'all ain't got no say. That's
Once
just
you
how
bring
I
it
get
to
down.
me, you're giving it up.
Hey, they know if they bring it to me, they warn them. They're like, hey, you don't want to meet my father, but hey, if we got to go to him, we'll go to him, But so, yes, I just, like I said, I feel blessed, particularly having adult daughters. And I'm just, I'm loving my adult women. They're amazing. My girls are they're cool as hell, and there's the good women. Like I said, I'm just enjoying seeing how they move, and it was the different stages of development, birth to 18 years of age, that I cover in my book, Daddy's Girls. You'll see that the 3 stages I cover are birth to 10, 11 to 14, 11 to 13, I'm sorry, and 14 to 18. And in my book, I don't tell fathers how to raise their daughters. I'm explaining what's coming. I'm explaining what's coming, and we have to prepare ourselves, because most fathers just are not prepared for the changes of development with their daughters. They're just not. Puberty, for instance, that's going to destroy most dads. They're probably going to want to leave the house, when their daughters start their menstrual cycles, and if they're not getting along with the mother, and those stages of development, you got to understand them and can't run from them. So I believe that my book, Daddy's Girls, is a blueprint to help fathers understand our sense of urgency. That's the reason why I wrote it.
Yeah.
You know, to help for all fathers. I want to see all fathers have great relationship with their daughters. All fathers, regardless of their ethnic group, background, and culture. And that's why I started my YouTube channel, Grow Dad YouTube channel.
Yeah, and I was going to ask you about that because I want to get a little bit more in depth of what you do as an overall, and even you can even tell us a little bit more about the book if you want to go in a little bit more deeper into it. But I did want to say
Sure.
this. So I had one of my guests that I've had on the podcast, Dr. Carmen. I had Dr. Carmen on, and we actually met. I think we met on Instagram,
Okay.
and she's a part of or she joined with an organization. I think it's called Cynical. I can't think of the exact name, but please forgive me, Dr. Carmen. But she has a program that teaches dads about their daughter's menstrual cycles, right? And so
Yes.
it teaches dads about that and
Right.
kind of nurture the fathers into, like what is going to happen and whatever, so that we're
Absolutely.
prepared for it, like you said, and so we
Absolutely.
met on Instagram, and we've I was able to take part of they had a virtual summit. I was able to take part of the virtual summit, and to
Okay.
talk about, my whole experiences. And I've had her on this podcast, the Girl Dad Discussions podcast, as well
Right.
as the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast. Just a lovely woman, Miss Carmen. And that the mission is what really, connected us, because it was like when she first connected with me and she sent me her flyer and I read it, I'm like, oh, that's what we're doing. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Right. Right.
We
Right.
teaching
Right.
dads
Right. Right.
about that. I'm like, all
Right.
right, we got to have you on. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Because I
Yes.
know we need it, and like you
Oh,
said, we got to be
absolutely.
prepared for what's coming, because it's coming.
Absolutely.
Like when they're little and you're holding them in your arms, like, oh, it's so sweet. Well, she's not going to stay that size forever. You know what I
Exactly.
mean? And we got to be prepared. So
Absolutely.
if you want, to go either way, we can talk a little bit more, go into a little bit more in depth about, the book itself, and some of the principles that you want to teach, that you want the fathers to get out of it. And then also
Sure.
a little bit more about your YouTube channel and what do you
Sure.
broadcast about there.
Sure. Well, the book Daddy's Girls is coming from the premise of the lens of a father of daughters, right?
Mhm.
And I say in the very beginning of my book, I have to give love and honor. When I was a probation officer, I worked with a woman that had 8 daughters,
Mm.
right? And she pulled me into her office one day. She said, "Mr. Martin, I want to talk to you." I said, "Yes, ma'am." I go to her office, right? And she says, "Have a seat." She says, "Can I give you some advice?" I said, "Yes, ma'am, please." She's a mother of 8 grown daughters. She was in her 60s at that time. This was back in I want to say 1998, 1999. So, I had my baby girls, and she said, "I've been watching you with your baby girls." She said, "Mr. Martin, you're going to be okay." So her and her husband had these amazing daughters. She said, "My advice to you is change with them." She said the simplest words to me: change with them. And then she looked at me and said, "You can leave." And I was like, "What just happened?" Change with them and you can leave. So it didn't dawn on me at the time. What she was explaining to me is change with them in their development, right? Some of the best advice I ever got was from a mother of 8 daughters. So I took that information and it made sense. And I changed with my daughters through the development. Didn't have a single problem. My girls were so easy. They were so easy. When I talk to most men and they're like, Efrem, I tell them, you got to jump in because we're fathers, right? When you're talking about the puberty of our daughters, the research will tell you some of these young girls, they start their menstrual cycles at 8 years old. Okay. So here we got these baby girls, 8 years old, breasts are developing, menstrual cycles starting. What are you going to do, dads? So if you're married, you have to lean on mom, right? But what about if you're divorced or you're a single father? So I go into detail what's coming, right? And with all of the research that's available to us, there's absolutely no reason for fathers not to be informed. No reason at all. And they need to have the women in their lives. They need to have their mothers in their life. Our baby girls need both parents. They need their mothers and they need their fathers. Because at some point in the relationship, little girls are going to battle with women. They're going to battle. And then they're going to try to pull the father in the middle. See, I was smart enough that y'all ain't pulling me into y'all's foolishness and nonsense. Because working with children, for as long as I work with children, I know they're both going to turn on me at the end of the day. So I'm not getting in that. But I discuss in my book specifically, it's only 36 pages, but I'm very direct in what I'm explaining. You know, I didn't use a lot of data or statistics at all. And I also have in my book, I have what's called a father-daughter contract. And I created this father-daughter contract in my book because what I realized working in K-12 education is a lot of fathers, they don't know how to discipline their daughters. They're very leery of, how do I discipline my daughters? Do I discipline my daughters? So I created this father-daughter contract of what, when you look at it in my book, Brother Ernest, there's a side for negotiables and there's a side for non-negotiables. And the reason that I came up with this contract is fathers need to understand non-negotiables are non-negotiables. That's what your daughters come up with. What are non-negotiables for them? And then you have negotiables on the other side, right? Now, negotiables can go on the non-negotiable side and they can come back. But non-negotiables can never move. So whatever you and your daughter or daughters decide are non-negotiables collectively, they stay on the non-negotiable side. Only negotiables can go back and forth. So what I've tried to do in my years of experience of working in the criminal justice system for 20 years and K-12 education for 10 years is bring fathers, I bring all that together collectively. And raising, now that I have adult daughters, I get it and I understand because I've been through every stage of development. So what I'm trying to help fathers understand, this is what's coming. Don't freak out about it. Come up with a plan though. So that's the blueprint for me.
Good. I think that's awesome, man. And a little bit about your YouTube channel. What's the name of it? And even with that, what's kind of the content that you share there that fathers can expect to see when they look you up?
Sure. So as you see in the description here, Grow Dad YouTube channel. That's my YouTube channel. I'm also on Rumble as well. My YouTube channel is specifically, it's a niche. It's for fathers of daughters. It's for Grow Dads. What do I address? I addressed everything from education to the criminal justice system regarding our daughters. I address social media engineering, social media violence. I address everything that I've learned professionally and as a father of raising 4 adult daughters, and I share it through my platform. So that's what you will get in my live streams. All of my live streams in 2024 are about to longer because I go a lot deeper. I'm able to go a lot deeper than most fathers can go because of my professional experience. So I look at it through a totally different lens. And when I've researched YouTube up and down, I haven't come across another father that's able to do what I can do. So I feel honored and I feel blessed. And for me, this is my way of giving back to fathers. I really want to see all fathers have great relationships with their baby girls. Because what I don't want to happen is your baby girl to become an adult woman and she cuts you off. So there's a lot of things that I can explain that will make a lot of sense. It may not register for a lot of fathers right now because they don't have adult women. But the information that I'm giving you can help save you and your daughter's relationships in the future. So that's what I do on my YouTube channel, right? When you go to my YouTube channel, you can see, I give a description on what I've done, what I'm doing. And like I said, this is just my way of giving back to fathers, because I want to see all fathers have a great relationship with their baby girls. It's important.
Yeah, it's definitely important. I think it's the most important thing on this platform. But
Yes.
definitely,
And I think, see, you and I are we're similar. We do the same thing. See, I think our goals are the same. We just may be coming at it at different angles, but the goal's the same.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
And
definitely.
the good thing about it, brother Ernest, there's enough room for all of us.
Yep.
And I commend the fathers that are out there, because what we're doing is tough, man. It's not easy. For instance, I don't even have 1,000 followers yet. I have like 805. Now, I could easily, I believe, from being on YouTube, I could have tens of thousands of followers if I switched up my format. But I'm not willing to do that, because that's not how I get down. Right? If I wanted to make my YouTube channel entertainment, trust me, I'd have thousands and thousands of followers. I'm not interested in that. I'm interested in making sure that fathers of daughters know when they come to me, they're dealing with a professional who has done it 4 times and understands their pain. And I do understand a lot of fathers, they're just not, you work with men. Men just ain't going to be open.
Right.
they just can do and come together collectively. So I believe that I provide a safe space.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I'm also about accountability as a father. So that turns a lot of men off to me, which is fine. All men are not going to gravitate to me. And I understand that. I'm not for all men. I get it. I don't come at fathers, though. I'm not trying to make fathers feel bad. My YouTube channel is educational, informational, through instruction. Mm-hmm. So that's what I do. And anyone, if you spend time on my YouTube channel, you're going to see I'm an advocate of fathers. I'm not against fathers at all.
Yeah, yeah. And definitely, like I said, I think that's you mentioned about us having the same goal. You know what I mean? Is also to provide a safe space for fathers and daughters. With this platform,
absolutely,
for them to be able to express themselves and express their relationship. We're gonna switch it up a little bit, right, and go into the next segment of the podcast, which is called the Getting to the Core segment. So the Getting to the Core segment is a segment that I started because I wrote an ebook called The 4 Core. And it's the 4 core values that every daughter should get from her father. And Efrem, I sent you a copy of it. And,
I'm looking at it right now, brother.
Yeah, yeah. And one of the things that I talk about is these 4 core values that I thought as a father, right? Yes. As a father, yes. That I thought was important. As a brother with 5 sisters, that I thought was important. Watching my father raise my sisters, and so just taking those experiences and really thinking about, okay, out of everything that I've learned, by example of my father, by relationships, what do I feel are the 4 core values that, if you just start here, you'll get a good feel. And so those 4 values are guidance, affirmation, love and affection, and protection. Yes. And so of those 4, you personally as a dad, which one of those 4 do you feel would probably be most important to you as a value to instill, or that you may have instilled in your daughters?
Protection. Definitely protection. Out of the 4, if I had to pick one, because the protection and safety, if we don't protect and bring safety to our daughters, they're not going to make it to 18. Mm-hmm. So protection, if I had to pick one of the 4, it would definitely be protection. I think they're all amazing, though. And I want to commend you on your ebook. It's needed and it's necessary. So.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So our last question before we get out, is the ebook is called The 4 Core, which is the 4 core values. So if there could be a 5th one that you could add, what would that 5th one be?
My 5th one that I would add to your 4 core is consistency. Consistency is what is going to get fathers of all daughters from birth to 18 to their daughters graduating from high school. We look at the research and the data. Our daughters not graduating from high school, there's a great chance of them becoming pregnant. There's a great chance of them ending up on the pole. And I talk about the pole in my book, and I also have a playlist on my YouTube channel. I'm talking about the pole with our daughters. So I've done a couple of videos talking about the pole. So consistency is one of the key elements for fathers to ensure that their daughters don't end up pregnant, and that they graduate from high school, and that their daughters do not end up on the pole.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Man, I'm gonna call you Mr. Martin.
Oh, it's all good, brother. It's all good.
I really appreciate you, man. I appreciate you being on, and I appreciate you sharing your wisdom.
I appreciate you for having me. Thank you. Yeah,
no problem, man. I'm definitely going to make sure that the links to your ebook is in the description. Also, the links to your YouTube channel will be in the description. But I want you to leave us just with a word of advice or motivation, however you feel. Right. I want you to have the last word. I want you to leave us with a word of advice or inspiration, however you feel, and definitely leave us with your social media handles and things of that nature where we can find you and follow you. I'll give you a couple of seconds to think about that. While you're thinking about that, to my listeners, man, thank you guys for just tuning in once again to the Girl Dad Discussions podcast. If you like this podcast and you ever thought about starting your own podcast, then make sure you get your copy of this ebook, Start Your Podcast Now. I wrote the ebook because I was often asked, how do you start a podcast? And so I made it easier for myself by writing it all down and turn it into a book so you guys can get your copy of, the Start Your Podcast Now ebook in only 3 steps. I made it real simple so you can do it. And I know it works because not only did I write it, but I use it to start a after school program for high schoolers and middle schoolers. And so I know it works because if the kids can understand it, I know you can understand it. So if you're thinking about starting your own podcast, get your copy of the ebook, Start Your Podcast Now. You can find it at ebooksbyejames.com. Again, that's ebooksbyejames.com. The link will be in the description. You guys can find that. Also, make sure you're checking me out at my home website, which is dealhealfulfill.org. Because as you guys know, my mission is to help people to deal, heal, and fulfill, to deal with your problems, to heal from your pain, and to fulfill your purpose. And so make sure you guys go to the dealhealfulfill.org website so you can find out more information about everything that I have going on as a speaker, as a workshop facilitator, and even you can book me to come to be a speaker or to hold a workshop at your organization or your school. Again, that's dealhealfulfill.org. Make sure you guys go there and check us out. Also, we talked about the 4 core ebook, and there's also other ebooks that I've written, and you can find them all at ebooksbyejames.com. That's ebooksbyejames.com. Not only do we have the Core 4 ebook, not only do we have the Start Your Podcast Now ebook, but we also have an ebook called From Males to Men, which is a like a male mentoring ebook for young boys that's crossing over into manhood. And we have an ebook called Forgiving Me, the 4 Steps to Self-Forgiveness. So you can find all of those ebooks at ebooksbyejames.com. Make sure you guys go there and check them out, as well as check out our inspirational t-shirt line. So if you go to Deal to Heal Tees, that's Deal, the number 2, Heal tees.com, dealtohealtees.com. You can find our inspirational t-shirt line. Put some inspiration in your situation. Wear an inspirational tee and be inspired all day. That is our tagline. Not only do we have inspirational tees at our website, but we also have our podcast merch, which is our podcast with our which is t-shirts with our podcast logos on the front. Again, you can find that at Deal 2 Heel Tees. That's Deal, the number 2, HeelTees.com. Last but not least, I've been blessed to be a part of an organization called the Forgiveness Mission. And what we do, we have free virtual workshops every other month talking about forgiveness, what it is, what it's not, who is forgiveness for, what does it mean to forgive. I think forgiveness is a very important topic that we don't talk about enough because we don't necessarily understand it enough, but it's definitely needed in our lives. So make sure you guys go to forgivenessmission.com, or you can go to Eventbrite and look up the Forgiveness Workshop headed by the Forgiveness Mission and sign up for our free virtual workshops. So whenever you listen to this, either one just ended or there's one coming up. So you can sign up for the free virtual workshop. You can take it on your phone or take it on your laptop. And it's absolutely free, but the information is worth millions. So make sure you guys go there and check us out. Again, Mr. Martin.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you so very much for being on. I really appreciate you. And I want you to have the last word. So the floor is yours.
So before I have the last word, I have the many things that you're doing and investing in as far as men. And it's amazing what you're doing. And I believe that you and I should collaborate on more than one thing and, just continue to spread the message of the father-daughter relationship and just fathers in their children's lives. So I commend you, brother. You're doing amazing things.
Thank you.
As far as me leaving a message, I just want to tell all fathers, there's light at the end of the tunnel. Keep your heads up and don't beat yourselves up. As long as you're consistent, you will do amazing things with your children, with your daughters. And do understand the journey. That's what it is. It's a journey. It's nothing more. It's nothing less. So as long as you're consistent and you're part of your daughter's lives, I will promise you it's going to work out in the end. They need our consistency. And as long as we're consistent, we advocate for our baby girls throughout their lives, the relationship's going to be solid. So that's how I would end it.
All right. Well, we can't end it no better than that. To my listeners, thank you guys once again for tuning in to the Girl Dad Discussions podcast, where we believe the most important relationship, one of the most important relationships in a young lady's life is the relationship that she has with her father. So we definitely want to encourage all the fathers and the daughters, keep loving one another. All right. So until next time, you guys be blessed. Thanks for listening to the Girl Dad Discussions podcast with E. James. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and subscribe to our podcast on all your podcast listening platforms. Also, don't keep it to yourself, but share it with someone else that the Girl Dad Discussions podcast is on the air. Until next time, be blessed. Thank you.